Bankruptcy is one of the smartest financial moves a person in debt can make.
I filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which means that I did not have to repay any of my creditors, even a small portion.
Hi, I'm Emily. We filed bankruptcy 6 years ago and we're in debt again. Yeah, the number's pretty crazy.
For the bankruptcy attorney, I'm going to tell you the cost of filing bankruptcy and then stick around because then I'm going to tell you why it doesn't even matter.
Bankruptcy is not shameful and it is not embarrassing.
My credit cards go. Basically what happened is I just stopped using all of those credit cards because you cannot be putting anything on your credit cards leading up to the bankruptcy because it will look like you're trying to commit.
かつてアメリカでも自己破産は人生の失敗、恥ずかしいこととされてきました。ところが今、特に30、40代の世代を中心に破産は賢い財務判断の一つという認識が広がっています。その背景には高金利、インフレ、学生ローンの重圧という現実的な苦境と富裕層や大企業が破産を戦略的に活用してきたという知られざる事実があります。銀行が課す法外な金利を30年かけて払い続けるより制度として存在するリセットボタンを使う方が合理的ではないか、そういう問いが静かに広がっているのです。
Bankruptcy is one of the smartest financial moves a person in debt can make. And the only reason people don't do it is because they were taught to feel guilty for using a system that was literally built for them. The bankruptcy system was created on purpose. It's not a punishment. It's a recovery mechanism written into law. But regular people were taught to feel ashamed of using it, while wealthy people were quietly using it as a strategy every time it made sense. Big corporations filed bankruptcy to restructure their debts every few years. Billionaires have used it multiple times and gone on to build empires after. Real estate investors use it to protect their portfolios. The wealthy treat it like a chess move. The average person treats it like the end of their life and ends up paying interest over 15 years on debt that could have been resolved in months. Once you understand bankruptcy as a financial tool instead of a personal failure, your relationship with money completely changes. It doesn't mean you'll need it. It just means you'll stop being controlled by the fear of it. And that fear is what banks count on to keep you paying minimums forever. Knowledge is what separates the people who use the system from the people who get used by it.
I filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which means that I did not have to repay any of my creditors, even a small portion. And the reason that I was able to qualify for Chapter 7 was because I was not making enough, nor did I have enough assets to be able to repay my creditors to any significant degree. For those who are going to ask, I had $60,000 of debt when I filed for bankruptcy. So that mostly included credit card debt, as well as a $10,000 personal loan. And I would say that I did not actually personally rack up $60,000 in credit card debt. I would say that I racked up probably around 30, and then I had the $10,000 loan, so 40, and then 20,000 of that was quite literally just fees and interest, APR, right? So that is why I'm so adamant about talking about my bankruptcy and why I'm making this series talking about my bankruptcy, because a lot of people's debt is not actually like money that they borrowed or took out. It is also the exorbitant and predatory interest rates that these banks charge.
Hi, I'm Emily. We filed bankruptcy 6 years ago and we're in debt again. Yeah, the number's pretty crazy. $93,154 worth of debt. 41,000 of it is cars. The rest is loans and credit cards. So we've been sitting at around 93,000 for a long time, but the number's not going any higher, so that's great. Our minimum payments every month are like $3,900, and the interest, just the interest on those payments is like $1,800. So yeah, here's to paying off the debt. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Yeah, I've thought about filing again. I have. At this point in time, we could file a chapter 13, I believe, and then get on like a payment plan or whatever, but we're not going to do that. And then in 2 more years, we could file a chapter 7 again, but we're not going to do that. It's just been a thought. You know, bankruptcy is a great option if you learn your lesson, and we didn't. So here's to getting out of it.
As a bankruptcy attorney, I'm going to tell you the cons to filing bankruptcy, and then stick around because then I'm going to tell you why it doesn't even matter. Folks, don't forget that I'm Bernice. I'm a bankruptcy attorney. Do not forget to hit that follow button because I've got a ton of bankruptcy videos to help you guys make a super informed decision. Rightfully so, people want to know, okay, if bankruptcy is so good, then what are the downfalls? What are the pitfalls? You know, why shouldn't I file bankruptcy? Okay, let me give you just some cons or things that happen. You're not going to be able to buy a home for at least 2 years after Chapter 7, and you're going to have to wait at least 1 year with good consistent Chapter 13 payments in a Chapter 13 to buy a home. You're going to have to wait 4 years for a conventional loan after a Chapter 7. Renting can sometimes be difficult for people after they file bankruptcy. Some places don't want to see a bankruptcy on the record. Other places don't care as long as you have good enough income. Sometimes you might have to find a private landlord. Other times it just doesn't matter. And this is just such a, it depends in your area, your circumstances kind of question. So if you can, try to rent before you file bankruptcy and secure your housing. Oh, I know it's not always possible. It stays on your credit report for 8 to 10 years. We're seeing pretty much right now at this point, it's staying up for 10 years. You will probably not be able to get a good interest credit card right off the bat. And when you are able to get one, it'll probably be very low limit. Same goes for cars. In most states, you can buy a car after bankruptcy the next day. But again, the terms and conditions are probably not going to be favorable to somebody who did not file bankruptcy. And these are just some of the most commonly, frequently questions and things that come up as cons to bankruptcy. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Even without the bankruptcy on your record, most of you still can't get a house, get a car, get a credit card, get an apartment because you guys have trash credit, because you guys have collections and fines and delinquencies, and because you can't afford anything. So even if you don't have a bankruptcy on your record, what is the point if you can't do any of these things that are cons? And I ask that to people all the time because if you can't use your credit, if you can't do anything without the bankruptcy because the debt is holding you back, because you just need a clean start, then what is the point of not doing bankruptcy? Folks, it does not have to be this hard. Bankruptcy is there for when you need it. It does not have to be the last resort of all the things, because guess what? Even in the list that I just mentioned, nowhere did you hear me say you're not going to be able to buy a house for 10 years. You're not going to be able to rent. You're not going to be able to buy a car. You're not going to be able to get a credit card. All the things that you do to build your credit and improve your credit without a bankruptcy, guess what? You do after the bankruptcy as well. And at the end of the day, the cons are going to be different for everybody, because somebody who is drowning in medical debt, who is drowning in credit card debt because they lost a spouse, because they had to put a bunch of medical bills on their credit card, because they had to put medications on their credit card, because they lost a job, because yada, 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 all of the unfortunate life circumstances that hit most of us that come into bankruptcy. To that person, it really isn't going to matter that they can't buy a home in 4 years or in 2 years or in 1 year. So if you're sitting here in this position thinking, well, everything outweighs bankruptcy, I would think again and I would talk to a professional.
I used to work in personal finance, and anytime I do a financial video, every single comment is like, can we please talk about bankruptcy? I want to start by saying bankruptcy is not shameful and it is not embarrassing. I would like to follow that up with financial literacy is not taught for a reason. They don't want you to be successful in your finances. That is literally why bankruptcy exists, is because they know the amount of debt that they allow you to gain, it will drown you. So they're like, we have to give it out. And that's basically it. Bankruptcy is a legal out. Just because it's shameful and embarrassing, a lot of people don't talk about it, but you would be shocked at the amount of people that have actually filed bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is just that things added up, and that's normally what it is. Things that were unexpected. Loss of job, a car accident, months out of work for whatever reason, an unexpected pregnancy. You would be shocked at how many people unexpectedly brought a child into this world and everything else crumbled because they were like, oh shit. School, divorce. There's so many different ways that people have gone through bankruptcy. It starts small. You have a couple credit cards that you can maintain. Then you end up with a car that you're like, ooh, this is kind of pushing it on my budget, but I really like this luxury car. I want this car. And oh shit, I lost my job. Barely could afford the credit cards. I barely could afford the car. Now I can't afford rent. I can't afford my food. So I have creditors calling me. I have medical bills out the ass from the car accident. Whatever the case is. You know, there's so many different storylines, and that's normally what it is. Things have added up to the point where you were treading water, and then boom, you're drowning. And at that point, you're like, I need a saving grace. Do I file for bankruptcy? Bankruptcy is basically just a legal action that you can take to either reduce your debts and get you back treading water or above water, hopefully, or completely wipe out your debts and go from there.
So what happens to your bank accounts when you file for bankruptcy? This is so interesting, and I did not know this and would not have known this had I not worked with a lawyer. So let me tell you, if you have debt with the same institution that you also have your checking and savings account with, you need to change your bank accounts immediately before you notify anyone that you're going to be filing. That is one of the first things I did when I started working with a lawyer, was I moved all of my bank accounts over to a credit union because I had debt with Chase Bank, JP Morgan, and I also had my checkings and savings accounts. And one of the things they can do if they find out you're filing is they will freeze your banks, and they will literally freeze your money and try to take it, which is not how the bankruptcy process is supposed to work. So I moved all of my money over, even including my Roth IRA, I moved it to Fidelity because I didn't have obviously any debt with them. And then I started going through the filing process, which took a while for me. It doesn't take everyone a while, but it is kind of like a dense process. Happy to explain it for those of you who want to know. But yeah, as far as my credit cards go, basically what happened is I just stopped using all of those credit cards because you cannot be putting anything on your credit cards leading up to the bankruptcy because it will look like you're trying to commit fraud, which is not good because, again, for the haters, right, there are like legal limits around bankruptcy that prevent fraud. But those credit cards, like, they just are inactive.